Da-da-da-da. Da-da-da-da-da. Da-da-da-da. Da-da-da-dun-dun-dun-dun. Da-da-da. Da-da-da-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. Da-da-da-da-da.
Oop.
Was I supposed to keep going?
I don't know. I stopped it. I thought it would fade out automatically. It did not. Hey,
Hey.
Nikon.
Hey, Sam.
Oh, we forgot how to do this.
Sorry. Hey, Sam.
Hey, Nathan.
What's going on?
Oh, when was our last podcast? 3 months ago?
Probably more than that. I think Sadie was only a couple of months old, so she's 9 months now. So there you go.
Do you find yourself gauging
Yes.
the passing of time by milestones in Sadie's life?
Listen, time no longer exists. Time is gone. Time has been replaced by baby. Baby is now time. Time is baby, and all things are baby. That's pretty much how it works.
Do we have a risk of baby podcast interruption?
Not. She won't probably come in here, but you may hear her having a good time in the background. Abby's hanging out with her right now.
Awesome. Oh, nice. Abby's home.
Yep.
Cool.
We've got a really good schedule for that. So
I think I've counted about a dozen texts over the past however many months of like, oh, we should podcast about this.
So we've got about 12
So now
hours of content ready for you right here.
Yeah. All right. Buckle in, suit up, throw us on. I'm glad to do this. We don't have to cover everything that's happened, but it's been, I think I'm shooting with and editing with and using an entirely different set of equipment now than the last time we talked. And you might be
close to that. I mean, I'm not using, well, actually, yeah. I mean, I think I was on was the R6 even out last time we podcast? My God.
Yes, it was.
Okay.
It was.
All right. Well, either way.
We've talked about the R6.
Yeah, I don't have a concept of time. Either way, the R6 is amazing. However, you have gotten a couple of R3s, right?
Yeah, I actually had a third one shipped to me that I had to cancel because I was like, whoa, I forgot I had pre-ordered it on launch day for pre-ordering, at least on B&H, Adorama, and Amazon. And I got my order from B&H, Adorama first, actually, then B&H a day later, and then Amazon a week after that. So ordered all the exact same day on launch day. If that one, this is just one anecdotal example, but if people are trying to feel out, I think Adorama kind of flies under the radar of a lot of people in terms of a store to order from. And so they actually have a little bit more, they still get allocated a lot of cameras.
Nice. Yeah. B&H is, I guess, more the more common name when I think of stuff that I want to buy.
But Adorama, as far as I can tell, exact same kind of return policy, very flexible, no restocking fee that I'm aware of. Free shipping is insanely fast. They get the order out same day usually, so it comes overnight if you're on the East Coast for free.
Yeah.
Like there's really no reason not to use Adorama, especially since they seem to have a slightly faster turnaround on everything. And who knows how long that might last? I don't know. But yeah, man, R3. I'm working on my full review of it, so I don't want to issue a final word yet. But I don't know if you had any questions for me about it.
Nope,
I
don't have any.
It's in my hands, but cool. A bunch of people actually have been dealing with an R6 issue that I think maybe it's worth talking about here. I don't know if you've experienced it yet yourself, but it's the hot shoe wiggling its way free, where you would mount your camera flash, and basically, falling off.
The whole hot
shoe is falling off the R6. Yes. The entire thing. I think it's a varied degree of how quickly the thing entirely detaches. For some people, the flash just stops working slowly, like intermittently, and then not at all. Other people, the hot shoe itself starts to like rock in a way that, and then other people, it just completely detaches.
Interesting.
So I'm curious, are you the type of photographer that grabs, if you have a flash attached to your camera, do you grab and pick up the camera by the flash?
Oh, no.
If it's sitting on the floor or something? Yeah, I don't either, but I think a lot of people do. And I think that could certainly create more of an issue than is otherwise going to happen. But I think if you've been doing that your entire career and then this one camera body fails, that's a problem with the camera.
Yeah.
Like that's
Yeah,
So,
that's not
yeah.
you. That's an unfortunate problem. I have had issues where my flash will sometimes not fire on the R6. I always kind of chalk that up to the Godox flashes not being like perfect because that's what I've been using.
100% compatible.
Um,
Yeah. Interesting.
but uh, but it totally could be like the hot shoe itself. I know that when I put it on there, it's just never feels super tight. Like it
Right.
never feels like gorilla tight. It always feels kind of like monkey tight, you know? I just feel like
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like and now that I think about it, I'm pretty sure that's only an issue with one of my R6s. I think the other one has never had any camera um flash issues. So
Oh, there you go.
that tells me.
You should inspect the hot shoe. Yeah, see if it's got a little rock to it or not.
I feel like I'm going to
It's
do that right
scary
now.
because you think about how often when you're using a flash, it's actually up over the heads of guests in like crowded dance circles and all that. If a flash actually fell off and hit someone on the head or something, like that would be not only incredibly embarrassing, but potentially very painful.
Oh, totally.
Although I have a feeling it would dangle. There's got to be some kind of wire connection that it would probably just dangle and hurt and hit your fingers or something more than anything else.
All right, I'm inspecting my R6 hot shoe right now.
This is it. This is
real.
real-time camera
This
inspection.
is real. This is happening right now. So it feels pretty solid, actually. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I got
It's
no
a
movement
strange
at all.
thing.
It looks visually
It's a
fine.
strange thing to like. I can't imagine they redesigned the hot shoe mount in any meaningful way. Like, how would it possibly be different than every other camera they've ever made a hot shoe
Seems
for?
weird,
But
especially since the build quality of this thing seems rock solid across the board.
so I will say that is one of the most noticeable things when I shot with the R3 an entire wedding for about 9 hours, and then the next day played around with the R6 because I was like trying to reconfigure some
I wanna
settings. I
know.
did realize how cheap and consumery the R6
Really?
felt. It felt very not professional at all. Yes, I think I'd kind of forgotten the not just the size, but like it just felt plasticky.
The Pro
and,
bodies are
yeah.
just like it. Like they're so awesome. Like when I switched from crappy, like was amazing at the time to I eventually realized it was garbage D750 to the D5.
Yes, the D750 pulled the exact same
Yeah,
trick. 100%. Yep.
D750 to D5 is a hell of a drug because it was like I was like, oh my God, like this camera is incredible. It feels just rock solid. I've, dropped it a few times and like just was no problem at all. Picked it right up and kept going.
Yeah.
And I can imagine that the R3 is just like that.
I missed the D5, but the R3 is exactly like that. And I'd kind of forgotten. I'm probably in my own head about this fact a little bit, but I do think it makes a difference. They didn't hold back at all with like the fact that it's a mirrorless camera, trying to make it compact and portable,
Right.
the way people kind of thought all mirrorless cameras would be. It's like the same size as a regular body.
That's what I've been wanting.
And the effect that has when you're in a space photographing people or directing someone, it gives you, I think, a little more authority.
Sure.
It feels like, oh, this is the professional. And I've seen, especially videographers, when it's just like a friend shooting and they've got like the kit lens and the DSLR body, and you're like, oh, okay, so you're just here as a friend.
Yeah, it's just
like it makes a difference.
Little tiny, or like, honestly, it's just this. I know the Sony's, A7s, A9s, and all that are great cameras, but it's so funny to see them in like an actual, like by videographers. These tiny little cameras, and they're going around getting amazing video, but it's just funny. I don't know.
Well, the benefit for them is they get the tiny camera in a giant stabilizing rig
for sure.
now without having to worry too much, which is super nice. But for them, in terms of weight, and I still don't know how videographer. And so I was thinking one of my biggest complaints about the R3 is that it's permanently gripped, and so the weight is a lot. There's no modularity with taking the grip off and getting a lighter body. But then I look over at the videographer I was shooting with, and I was like, oh, but his sucks. That's like a giant, I don't know how many pounds this must, 12 pounds? I don't know. 8 pounds is like stabilizing rigs that they constantly have to carry throughout the entire day. Like that sucks. That's way worse. I'm going to stop complaining. It weighs actually less than a gripped R6.
Oh, okay.
So it is
Yeah.
lighter in that regard. If you want a point of comparison, if you have a grip with your R6, it weighs less.
Nice.
So that's worth
Yeah.
noting.
And again, like I like having a big camera as my main camera, just again, because of, I don't know, it gives me like, I feel like when I take that thing out, even on an engagement session, I feel when I take that gripped R6 out, I just feel like the people in front of my camera are respecting me a little more. If that makes any sense.
That's what I mean. It's a real thing. 100% makes sense.
Like even, and sometimes you'll get like an Uncle Bob will come up and be like, "Whoa, that's like a nice camera you got there." And that's when I know that like, all right, these people are gonna respect the authority.
Yes, I'm the professional.
I will take your photo now.
Eyes here, not the iPhones. Yeah, it's a real thing. But I will say it's annoying to have to now carry body caps to pack my bodies in the sling bag appropriately, because it doesn't really fit with the lens attached anymore, no matter what. That sucks. But as far as battery charging, just to get one more little
let's move on
point out of the way.
Just kidding.
The entire wedding, 9 hours, shot across 2 camera bodies, didn't have to change a battery once. So, I think you can expect to get about 8,000 clicks per battery charge. It's a different battery than what's in all their other R5, R6 ones. It's one of the triple super. It's like the same batteries that are in Teslas, right? And it's the same one that would have been in like the R5 and all those other gripped Nikon bodies that you would know.
So. That brings me up to an interesting point. I've been doing a number of shoots for and with some, other photographers lately, a lot of events and things in DC and a couple of weddings with second shooters and everything like that. And I get this question all the time. Like, why are you shooting with like a 256 gigabyte card? And I'm like, first of all, why not? I mean, I know it's expensive, but like it's not that expensive compared to the fact that you will never ever have to change out your camera, your memory card for a whole wedding. And sometimes if you forget to format or something like that, and you start shooting, like you're fine. I could shoot 11,000 photos on a single card if I wanted to. And granted, the R6 makes it a little easier because the files are pretty small. But you're mentioning something about the battery life being such that you don't have to change a battery. You don't have to, the memory card size being enough so that you never have to change a memory card.
They're 25 megapixel files.
Nice. Okay, that's great. I could go for a few more than 20. There's been a couple of times where I've been editing, being like, I could use a bigger file than this, but not super often.
Nice.
And then this is kind of segueing us into another topic, but the MacBook Pro that I have just purchased, and I know you have also purchased, having
I'm using it
absurd
right now.
levels of storage capacity. I got 4 terabytes. You got 8 terabytes. And
I'm already down to 3. I checked.
Yeah, I'm already down. I'm already down to 1.9. So it's fine. But what this is doing is it's fundamentally changing, like it's my like mental process, I think, about shooting, editing, delivering. So the shooting part has been taken care of a long time ago with the 256 gigabyte cards. I had those years ago. But having a battery you don't have to change out during a shoot just sounds amazing to me. I remember shooting the D750. That had, the one thing about it it had incredible battery life, to the point where I think you could shoot 7 hours on a single charge if you were kind of being a little bit judicious. And so in certain cases, I never had to change out a battery when I was using the D750. And I remember that being a point where I was like, this is so cool. But the game changingness of having all storage on your own computer, being able to import, edit, and deliver from your computer without having to touch a backup drive if you don't have access to one or whatever, is a game changer. 100% game changer.
So I was researching the Compact Flash Express cards, like the newer iteration of XQD or whatever Sony tried to launch. Yeah, but they're CF Express. Okay. So that's one big bonus to the R3, by the way. It's got CF Express and SD. The new Nikon flagship mirrorless has, I think, only CF Express, which would just kill me. If I'm so grateful Canon went with SD, because now I have an SD slot in my MacBook Pro. It would suck to get a new camera that doesn't have it. So anyway, but they have, I think I saw the capacity up to 2 terabytes on one single CF Express card. And I was like, how would that shift? But I think that actually would be problematic, because I could see myself, you could capture like 6-7 weddings in a single card, maybe more. And it would reach a point where in the middle of shooting a wedding, I would probably I would have lost track 7 weddings deep and be out of space, and then suddenly not.
How can you be out of space on a 2 terabyte card?
Yeah. This is my 7th wedding on this card. I mean, if there was like a 10 terabyte card, I'd probably buy that and just use it for the year.
Sure.
How amazing.
Oh my God. That would be crazy.
That's going to happen sometime.
But Lightroom can't even handle
as like an ongoing backup.
Like,
no, that's true. It would be kind of like an ongoing backup, almost like the memory card is cemented into the camera. I would treat it as internal memory. But the whole point, just to answer the question you surface, why do you shoot with 256 gigabyte cards, is the goal is to, often enough in my early years before I started doing that, and I guess you as well, there would be a point where I would start shooting getting ready photos and realize, I forgot to format my card before I started shooting for whatever reason. And 256 means I have the headroom to forget to format before I start shooting, like twice before it's a real actual problem, because I can hold 2 or 3 weddings.
Headroom is a great way to describe it.
Yeah, exactly. You want that headroom in case you just make a silly mistake like that. And it's the worst. You can't format a card once you've been shooting like 10 minutes of getting ready for
No, you can't.
It's like, sometimes you can't format that. Like, you're stuck. And then you'd have to like turn off the backup feature. If you didn't bring extra cards, you'd have to like switch to single card only and shoot on the rest of your backup slot. It's a nightmare. So and honestly, the memory cards aren't that expensive anymore. 256 used to be a lot. Now it's like $150 maybe. Yeah. For a Sony Tough version too. It's well worth the funds.
Totally.
I'm doing 512 CF Express and then my 256 SD. And I'm still using my SD as my primary card to offload my photos. I'm just keeping the CF Express in there, even though it's faster to copy. It doesn't really matter. I'm assuming I'm like you in that at the end of the night, I don't need crazy fast speed. No. I just pop it in my computer, start the rendering, and download to Lightroom. I go to sleep, and everything kind of churns away overnight anyway. So I don't need that insanely fast transfer.
Yeah, it's not a big deal. The only time I ran into an issue with that was about a month ago. I did a shoot where I had a team of like 3 other photographers, and they were like handing me all their photos at the end of the night, and I was like, okay, this is even as fast as like the MacBook M1 is, like, it was still, it still took like an extra, like, I don't know, it wasn't long, 10 minutes maybe to like offload everything. And I was like sitting there being like, I want to get back on the road. But that's small pickings.
And that's a rare kind of edge case of how you normally would use that kind of stuff. That's anyway. So there's a lot to talk about with the R3. We should probably save that until I actually finish writing my review. But I do want to talk a little bit more about the new MacBook Pros. Oh my God, dude! Since you're what, a couple weeks in? I'm like a month in using it.
Yeah, I'm like 3 weeks in.
How did you get the Apple M1 Max chip or the M1?
I got the M1 Max.
Or the M1 Max. So that is, in case it's confusing. I think it's stupid. I guess Apple's trying to align their branding with their phones, where like the Max is the iteration for the size, right? But the Apple,
it's definitely
the weird. Apple silicon in the phones are the same, whether you get the Max, the Pro Max, or just the Pro. It's the same. But in the laptops, the M1 Max is a better processor than the M1 Pro, which is stupid and confusing. They should have just named the 16-inch the M1 Max and the 14-inch the M1 Pro,
Oh,
or both make them Pro and just make the 16-inch the max version. Like I don't, their naming scheme makes zero
yeah,
sense to me.
I think it was a marketing decision, to be honest with you.
They make the silliest marketing decisions.
Silly. I really do think though that it's marketing. Like it convinced me to buy an M1 Max chip. I was like, this is the one I have to buy. And it's
well, yeah. I mean, looking at the stats, but to me, Pro seems like it should be
just be
the
Pro.
trump card. Like that is the Pro. Like Max, it's like Max of what? Max.
It's not like next year you're gonna have like another thing that's not as Max as this year. Like like
They should have. But the M1 Max is the better of the chips. I don't remember by how much, but it was better battery efficiency,
significant enough, and it can handle up to 64 gigabytes of RAM, which is what really pushed me over the edge. Was like I wanted a processor that, I wanted 64 gigabytes of RAM because the RAM on this machine is shared between the GPU and the CPU. So 16 gigabytes of RAM is not going to be anywhere close to enough. If your GPU is soaking 8 of that, then you're left with 8 gigabytes of RAM, which isn't even really enough to effectively run Lightroom. So 32 gigabytes, I'm sitting there thinking, to me, that sounds like the same thing as 16 gigabytes. I was like, I want 64. And the only way to do that was to get an M1 Max chip. So I opted for like the first tier of, I think, 3 tiers of M1 Max chips. So just the basic M1 Max chip and 64 gigs of RAM.
Wait, there were tiers of, I thought it was just Max, or there were actual tiers of the chip itself.
Well, it was more cores. So there was the M1 Max with 10 cores. Then there's an M1 Max with, I think, 10 cores, but like more GPU cores. And then there was one with like 12 cores and all the GPU cores.
I see.
All the CPU
That's
cores.
what I got. I didn't even look and compare stuff. I just maxed out everything that I could because I knew I wanted to go all in on this setup, including getting the used but good deal on an
XDR
display. Sorry.
I still haven't seen that. I need to come over and check that out.
Yeah. It's a thing of beauty.
My God.
It's very nice. It's stunningly beautiful.
I'll tell you what else is stunningly beautiful. The screen on this thing is just gorgeous.
Mm-hmm. And it does a good job. Like I'm looking at you with the reflection of a giant window behind me, and it's there, but it's very manageable. Like I don't have to, I don't feel the need to have to rotate. I haven't actually, have you taken yours outside at all to see how the brightness and reflections handle?
No, I don't think that I have. I'm going to do that though. Because I know the reflections are much better. But the colors are just like super rich, and like, I had to like redo my preset just because like my preset, my color's
now
insane.
I see.
And like dial everything back.
Speaking of which, that is the big thing with the R3. It's a new sensor, and so I'm trying. I have to kind of tinker my as close and as good a job as DVLOP does with camera matching. From one sensor to the next. It's not perfect, and I have been in, of course, at the worst time, by the way, to play around with a preset with like 100,000 photos in my queue. I'm like, doing the whole second guessing myself, A/B comparison. Yes. I'm like, oh no.
I have to just like I'm the worst about that. I have literally had to like get up from my computer and like walk away sometimes when I'm like starting to like really get in the weeds on like trying a new preset.
Oh, you got to do that. That's a super healthy. That's the only way to get perspective. And you come back, and then what I usually do is edit a photo to where I think it's good, leave it on the screen, and then come back and try and see it with a very fresh eye. I remember seeing, it was a documentary about like the 5-year-old girl who was supposed to be like a prodigy of painting. And
I don't know what this one is.
Yeah, it was called, I can't remember, but people thought maybe it was the dad doing it and not her. It was some like 60 Minutes documentary. Anyway, there was a professor of art that walked in the room to assess the quality of a painting. And I thought it was so silly. He like walked in like this and like looked down, and then boom, like looked at the painting. It's like, that is so silly. How performative is this guy? Like trying to, but that's exactly what you should do if you're trying to assess color or something. Like really do whatever you can to mentally clear your palette.
Sure.
close your eyes, think about something else, look at a different whatever, and then boom, open them and look at it and assess whether it doesn't matter what you saw before this. Do you like the red or not in this photo the way it sits right now? You might like it more if you switch back to the B version, but do you like the way A looks right now, not having any reference? If the answer is yes, then it's probably okay to let it go. Yeah. But you do need to like literally walk away, close out, look at other pictures from other photographers, stuff like that to kind of clean your palette. But I am curious if there's probably an answer for this if we just Google it. If there is a best sort of industry standard for cleaning your visual palette. Like, should you stare at the color, like a white wall for 30 seconds? Does that do it? Do you close your eyes in complete darkness for 30 seconds? Do you look at the color red? Like, I wonder.
I think what you do is you go to the freezer and get get out the sorbet, and you eat the sorbet while you look at the photo, and it's supposed to sort of.
I thought you were going to say just start spooning it into your eyeballs. No. You eat the sorbet, and then you notice everything differently. That's how it works. I'm hitting a point where I have to start cutting out all good food again.
Oh no,
my COVID 19 pounds is.
Oh yeah. The COVID-19. I got to freshman 15 by the way when I was a freshman.
Yeah, I did too. Oh, yeah,
you know what it was?
That was. What Wendy's?
Ice cream.
Oh, Chick-fil-A
it was free ice cream.
I
ate it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Might have been the waffles. I remember the waffle machine.
Yeah, the waffle machine. The golden
stuff.
something.
And then you just pour the syrup and whipped cream. And
I put Fruity Pebbles on top of it.
Harbor Lights. Yeah. It
was great.
Oh, man.
Those are good times. And I gained 15 pounds. 15 actual pounds.
Yeah, same.
And then I got rid of it. I was like, okay, well, I don't even care about ice cream. I just like that it's there.
That's the problem. That's the thing. I always lose weight when I travel because stuff just isn't there for me. Like to snack on when I'm at home.
Discipline.
I graze all day. Yeah.
So let's see what else is going on. Wait, really quickly though, and not really quickly.
Sure.
The most important thing about the new M1 computers has nothing to do with the processor or the GPU integrated into the circuit board or whatever. It is the storage space.
Storage space, yeah. We were talking.
Yeah, but dude, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Like,
it is.
I'm serious, and so fast with like the processing speed is amazing. And I've been, you know how much, and everyone else listening knows how much I freaking have been on Lightroom's case for being slow like molasses, and this computer makes that a thing of the past. Not only in that, but in the most recent patch, they have taken out the ability to go low resolution. So so you're stuck super slow.
I do think if you launched it in Rosetta mode, you could go low res, but that might be a slight workaround, but it's not worth it. You don't need to. You don't have to. Although if you're running an Intel, I would be curious now. I'm going to do a little test while we're talking.
So
launch in Rosetta, because I know, here we go, open using Rosetta. I'm curious if it now gives me the option to
but you have to
low res.
You have to go in through the preferences.
Yeah, so you have to get info to launch something in Rosetta. And for anybody listening that doesn't know, Rosetta is like the emulation of it's like a sandbox that it opens the app within. So apps that are still in the Intel architecture or whatever you call it of programming can still run on Apple Silicon. They're going to be a little bit slower and less fast performance. Silicon. Silicon. Sorry. Scaled fit below built-in camera. Oh, I see that. Okay, I turned that off. No, it doesn't give me the option.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me
to launch in low res. Yeah, they're done with it, but it's okay because performance. Eventually, everyone, I think, as quickly as possible, should switch to the new chips, because this is also going to be the vector and pivot point for them to start making real pro like iOS apps and iPad OS apps that cross over between your computer and your mobile device.
It's been fun using the Brain.fm, like basically their sort of mobile app for like just sitting on my MacBook.
There was a period of time, about a month, when the first M chip laptop launched last year, where like any app you could run on your desktop.
That's so cool.
But now developers have the option of stopping that if they want. And so Brain FM must be one of the ones that don't care or whatever. But most that I find now, like Instagram.
I was going to say Instagram
can't launch, wasn't made.
Yeah. That's okay.
It would be great.
Instagram, I am launching using. I'm trying to experiment where I post Instagram from my computer using the like Safari developer tool thing where you can make your Safari like an iPhone.
How does that deal with sharpening?
I don't know.
Does it give you any editing preferences?
Oh,
in the post?
I don't know.
So I get questions about sharpening all the time, especially specifically to my Instagram account. And one of the last steps and key aspects of sharpening is the order of operations should always be you resize your image, then to the exact experience it's going to be at. Then you add sharpening and then add grain. That'd be like the proper order. So I do sharpen in Photoshop the properly sized one, but then I sharpen again using Instagram's sharpening.
Oh, gotcha.
Maybe around like 20% or so in the app. So if I can't do that, I won't use a browser-based posting.
I'm going to check that while we're on here. This whole podcast live, everything live. So
it's always live.
We're live.
What are you talking about? Technically, this isn't live. This is
live.
I'm going to take out a lot of our more
You're listening live
comments. We could go live. I do have that ability, but I'm not sure
we are live.
Watch, and I don't like the distraction of like,
we're live. What else you got going on? What else is happening? Weddings.
Do you hear the clapping?
No, I don't hear the clapping.
You don't. Oh, that's funny. Everyone else will except for Nathan. Weddings. I've got 2 more in the year left. One this weekend, and then I'm flying to London again.
Again
on Sunday night, and then I'll be there for 4 days
problem?
And then back home. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know what my problem is, but travel just got a little more complicated. Now you have to COVID test before you leave and when you get there instead of just when you get there.
Wow.
So I was always curious why they didn't have, like in the US, the rule has been for like a year now. In order to start and board the plane to come back into the US, you had to have a COVID test ahead of time within 3 days of your departure. That makes a lot of sense to me. But once you get here, they don't make you test again because that seems like overkill. Right. Europe, it's always been, you can fly right in as long as you have your vaccine card. No test required. And then they started requiring tests within 2 days of when you land. Now they're requiring that plus a test 2 days before you land, so before you depart. So it's like, geez, it's a bit overkill, but whatever. How about you? I've got a shoot tomorrow and then a portrait for the next National Press Club president.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, you can come with that if you want. And then wedding on Saturday and then a wedding on New Year's.
Nice. I'm just delivering photos. I've got like 2 weddings to deliver, 2 engagements to deliver. I think I only have like 1 more shoot at all until like I'm going to California for over a week, right before Christmas, and then coming back, and then I've got a wedding New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
So
awesome. California.
All right. I'm excited.
Good time to visit there.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Oh, I have a baby birthday party to shoot, which is actually
to photograph.
Yes,
okay.
I wouldn't normally take these. I shot one of these once and it was a nightmare. But this one I'm taking because the client is a former client, I think, of yours and mine, and I think the Willinghams. Christian. Christian. Oh man.
Oh,
I'm already for.
Yeah, I know.
Anyway,
is he Latino?
He's the man.
Rose is
and
wife?
Rose. Yeah. So they have a kid who's I think a couple years old now, and they want some photos of it. So I'm like, I'm definitely coming. Like,
time is flying. That's awesome.
Craziness.
Yeah, well, I just have this portraits thing and then a wedding up in New Jersey. So that's my plan. Cool. But nothing else too crazy. I'm trying to think. There have been a few lenses. And have you released recently? And then I was going to ask, have you actually played around with the new Nikon? I think it's the Z9 II.
Z6 II.
6.2. That's a Z6 II, but there's another one. I think it's just called Z9.
Yeah.
So have you actually seen that in person?
Yes.
Okay.
Aram uses it. Or wait, was Aaron using
Okay.
it? No, somebody else is using it.
Okay. So it's their gripped
Yes.
sort of R3 competitor. I haven't actually seen one in person. A lot of people have asked me about it, but I'm just so afraid to try another Nikon body because I don't want to have to switch systems
I know.
again. But it's a couple $100 less than the R3.
$500 less.
Yeah. And it has not a pivoting selfie screen, but it has like the up and down rotation, and then it has like the Fuji style.
Yeah.
If you rotate your camera, it does flip out for vertical shooting as well.
Yeah, it's a cool
which
design.
is interesting.
I think it will definitely lend itself really nicely to portrait work, like especially like studio portrait work. But I don't know. I mean, for a sports camera, which I'm assuming this is kind of somewhat geared towards and everything like that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Super fast 8K video type stuff. Yeah.
It looks awesome.
Which I find appropriate for weddings. Like I want the sports, I want the max performances I possibly can get away with. Does not seem to have Canon's big thing, which is eye focus tracking with your eye and the sensor, which is interesting. But I am curious to experience the Nikon world again to see how they've improved on their focus system. Because in the DSLR world, Nikon was always underestimated and way, way ahead with how good their autofocus was compared to Canon shooters. Like it's shocking to me how popular the Mark III and Mark IV were and how bad they were in high ISO and autofocus capability compared to Nikon. Even like their D700 was like better,
dude,
than Canon stuff.
I actually have some firsthand experience from this week. I was doing a shoot for a friend of mine who's a great photographer in DC. Well, actually, he lives in Baltimore. But he asked me to come along and edit live while him and another photographer were shooting. And I was like, yes, that sounds like fun. So I was their photo editor for the day. And it was a crazy end of the night. I'll get to that in a second. But one of the photographers was handing me Mark III files, and they were just really, really tough to work with. It was the other thing that's interesting about that is going back to this isn't a knock on the R3 or on the Mark III. It's a knock on DSLRs, but the focus was like not there. Professional 24-70 2.8 lens was just not sharp. It just was not nailing focus the way that a mirrorless can. And going back and forth from the main photographer's files to this other photographer's files, I was like, some of these are not going to be usable just purely from the fact because they just barely missed focus. And I'm so grateful for mirrorless because you're just knocking down focus. It's awesome. Not just fast, but accurate. Which is cool.
And that gets leveled up big time with the Canon eye control focus,
sure.
Which we don't need to get into right now. But I am looking at the stat comparison, and the R3 low light autofocus is rated at about negative 7.5 stops of low light, and the Z9 is rated at negative 8.5.
Whoa.
So
yeah, I mean,
a whole stop lower.
That doesn't really surprise me. I feel like Nikon's always been a little bit ahead of the game on low light performance and all that.
Yeah, but their first mirrorless bodies were such crap at focusing across the board. I'm curious to see how it actually performs.
That doesn't tell you autofocus performance. It talks about potential.
I know. You're right.
So you never know. But I'm sure it's great.
Also, Nikon has illuminated all their buttons, which is cool.
Oh, that's
cool.
Think
the Canon has it only has like one or two.
That's really cool.
Illuminated.
I'm sure that doesn't help with battery life.
Well, anyway, I was just curious if you'd seen one in the wild yet.
I don't think I haven't actually seen the Z9. I've seen the Z6 II.
Oh man, I don't think we've actually podcast since a lot of the new AI tools have come out either. We'll have to
we're gonna have to do a separate one on that. I'm using.
Are you okay? You are. I was gonna ask if you've actually used in any meaningful professional way any of.
I'm using. Oh gosh, I'm already forgetting. By the way, like after having a kid, you don't remember anything. That's just like it's a thing.
Have you had to adjust to your like note taking and reminders discipline, or do you just let things go now?
Note taking and reminders are like the only thing that's like keeping me delivering anything. The AI one that is culling.
Yeah, after shoot.
Yeah. I want to call it autonomous
the AI one that is culling.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that is dude. Okay, wait a second. The Z9 actually has no mechanical shutter at all. That I can't.
Whoa, no mechanical shutter.
That, I mean, I admire the guts to push something like that, but it has no mechanical shutter. I can't shoot silent mode. It
has click. Like you can make it have a sound.
Yeah, but that is usually the worst sound ever. Like it sucks. Like it's the crappiest nothing sound. I don't know. I would be curious what the exact sound is, but the silent mode on the Canon, the fake shutter noise is not
on the R3
satisfying. It is on the R3. Oh man, that's fascinating. I have to try this camera out. If anybody's listening and has the Z9, I would love to hear what the experience is like to not have an actual mechanical shutter. We're losing all the tactile responsiveness of these tools, which I feel like is a pretty big part of the experience and getting your timing and like actually capturing the peak moment.
Now, I don't know. Yes, in the future, who knows? If everything is always silent,
it's not like the iPhone. Yeah, the iPhone doesn't.
Yeah, I mean,
have a shutter, but I would love like a little vibration if they could build that. And I'm surprised they never put that as an option in the iPhone.
Yeah, I don't know.
So you could just feel the feedback of pressing the button. Maybe it is there and I just didn't notice. I don't know. Anyway,
AI culling has been great for certain shoots, and I don't use it for every shoot. It is definitely a time saver for sure. And I need all the time savers I can get since, again, time is baby.
Have you been able to do any work when she's actually like in your lap or in your arms? Is that just
at this point, not really. I can, I can't really do any work when she's like with me and I'm taking care of her. Okay. I can do things that are fun though. Like I can, sing her songs and stuff. I can play guitar. She loves that. But in terms of actually working, it's impossible unless she's either asleep or that's it.
Okay, so now that you're knee deep in the thick of it, any words of advice for parents to be, new parents, in terms of what to expect or what to modify in your, I know you're still figuring it out, but any like, oh, this is perfect, this is what I need?
I think the number one thing, honestly, is it is really related to time, where you don't have time, like free time anymore, like you used to. So the free time that you ever do end up having is like, oh dude, that's like GoldenEye.
James Bond.
The free time that you do end up having becomes like super precious. So you get really, really, really efficient, really, really, really fast. So that's been nice.
That's awesome.
It's been nice to.
I was wondering, I could actually see a case made where your productivity actually goes up because you do have to adhere to a bit more of a schedule.
Oh yeah,
or
dude,
just going
slackers rejoice. Slackers rejoice. If you have a kid, like all that slacking is like. Is just gonna be gone. You're gonna be like a superhuman freaking time spending champion
guru.
Like every okay. And the other thing is like, dude, any time that your time is wasted by something other than your own control, like if you have to like for instance, I went to the Apple store to have my old MacBook like looked at and eventually sent off for a trade-in.
You had many a keyboard issue, which we didn't even bring up, but the new keyboard, it's
wonderful. Yes, so great. I've been waiting for the stupid keyboard for years.
So you took
I took it in there and I'm sitting there and they were like, okay, you need to like do this. You need to call customer service. Like we can't do anything about this right now. You have to call customer service while you're sitting here. And then they'll like figure out your whole trade-in status and everything. And then I'll come right back and help you out. And I was like, okay, no problem. I like knocked out the customer service call in like 4 minutes. And then I just sat there and like she was helping somebody else. And I was like sitting there being like, dude, I got a kid at home. Like I can't sit here. Like I'm freaking out. Like I have like, this is time that is being wasted. Like, so it ended up being like 20 minutes. I sat there and I was like, okay, what can I do? What can I do? oh my God, I got to finish Squid Game. So I'm like sitting there, like watching Squid Game. I'm like, this is how I'm going to use my time now. Like I have to like figure out some way to either like maximize my time, or like if I don't have anything to do, just lay down and relax. And like, so in some cases actually take a nap, because I like didn't sleep the previous night. Sleep is a big problem in general, but it's really the main thing is like, as soon as you're like in the thick of like having the kid, you start like scheduling your whole life out really well, and like having to communicate really like a lot with your partner about like who's taking care of the baby when. And like, fortunately, me and Abby have a schedule where like if I'm working, she can be off, and if she's working, I can be off. So we don't need daycare right now, which is great. We get to like participate in all our baby stuff, but like a list of stuff to do is like my whole life right now, and it's great. It's fine. I'm just everything. I feel like I'm actually accomplishing things, and at the same time like watching my kid grow up. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah, I've been going to bed at like 9 on days I don't have weddings. I don't know what's wrong with my sleep schedule.
Great.
I think a lot of it's the time change in the daylight. Yeah, I'm going to bed at 9 and waking up at like 8.
Are you still drinking 9 cups of coffee a day? Okay,
yes,
well that's the other problem. We'll get to that later. Taper off, Sam. Taper off.
Okay, we're about 47 minutes in. Let's call that hiatus.
Has been broken, and we're back. We're back, baby.
And we're going to try this video thing and see how it works. Yeah. But thanks everyone for sticking around. If you're still here listening to us, I was at 2 conferences the past couple of weeks and got a lot of questions about the podcast.
Sorry, you can blame. Don't blame Sadie. You can blame me, though.
Okay. Also, kind of fascinating that a number of people have said they just started the podcast.
Oh, that's cool.
So imagine that, going back to 2016 and listening to us.
Guys, I just got this really great camera called the D750. What was our first?
Actually, I think that probably, I don't know. I think it was 2016. Yeah, we've been at it for a lot longer than most. Well, yeah, I'm going to edit this up and have a good day. Good luck. And
see you later.
Bye.